Hey guys, Oda here. So today I want to talk about how to find an accessible rental for when you're either vacationing or for when you have time for a weekend getaway adventure. For me personally, ever since the pandemic and the height of the lockdown orders in March, I did not leave the city and I've been yearning to. So as you can imagine, it was a great treat and a wonderful surprise for when my girlfriend had booked us a yurt in Apple Hill, which is a small town 40 minutes outside of Ottawa. And an even better treat was to find out that the yurt was accessible in that the owner had gone out of her way to make sure that there was a ramp and a platform. So I want to show you my process and how I found this kind of accessible home and how you can use this process to have your own adventure. Keep in mind now, before I go on, that there's many ways to go about this. It all depends on preference, needs, and what exactly you want out of your time away. You can rent a cottage, you can rent a hotel, a motel, a full chalet. It is entirely up to you. There's websites like hotels.com, expedia.com that have accessibility filters and that are very decent. However, this is my way, and this is what I find has been the most accessible, and the most success I've had in terms of accessibility and adventure has been through Airbnb accessibility features. So we begin at the main page of Airbnb. It's fairly straightforward here. We go to location, we enter where we want to go. I'll select Niagara Falls. Our check-in dates, let's select the weekend. And this here is whether you have lenience with your stay. So I'll leave it at exact date. I'll add the number of guests and we'll click search. So now this has populated the available rentals in the area that fit our criteria. So we'll go to our criteria. We'll click on the filters up here. Scroll down until you see accessibility. Find a place to stay that meets your mobility needs. This is an excellent feature because now, as you can see, there are a plethora of options. For me personally, I like no stairs or steps to enter, and sometimes I click on elevator, but you got to keep in mind that the more criteria and specific criteria that you put, the less likely you will find rentals that fit your needs. So keep it to the absolute necessities. And for me, I bring my own bath chair. I can make do with everything else in the bathroom. Bedroom I can transfer into. So the most important thing for me is entering the place and being able to enter the bathroom. So I've checked no stairs or steps to enter, and let's go ahead and click save. It's showing me that there are 4 stays that fit my criteria. So as you can see here, it has the price and the location. Let's click on this one. It's an entire apartment in Niagara Falls. So immediately I see that there are stairs here, but we have to keep looking, and clearly there might be a back entrance. So we can use these pictures to investigate more. There, as you can see, there's a back entrance that looks very accessible with no stairs. So we can click the pictures to investigate some more. We can read, and most importantly, we can contact the host. And once we contact the host, we can ask specific questions relating to accessibility needs. The booking and the searching and the finding the accessibility needs, that's not my favorite part. Once that part is over, then I can begin to relax. Then I can begin to plan. Then I can begin to have some fun. This is my favorite part, the planning of the route. So this is where the rental is, the yurt, and this is my home. I had to make some stops for bathroom breaks, but also for adventure. We started at home, went to the Big Apple for some pies. continued to Kingston, where I went to school. Stopped off at Brockville, where I saw the first Underground Railroad tunnel. And then finished at Apple Hill. With that said, I also want to say it's important when you find your exact location to use Google Maps and specifically the Street View feature. You could drag and drop this little guy, and a lot of places you'd be surprised have Street View available, and it gives you beautiful 360 degrees photography like this. So this specifically is where I'm looking for. Being able to do this works wonders because it helps with my investigation and preparation. So now I know that there's a long gravel driveway. And I also know that these are back road county streets. So if I wanted to go biking, I can because the streets are okay. But I have to keep in mind that there's a long gravel driveway. So it's important to plan. It's important to know what to expect. And it's also important to have fun. Hi, Eleanor. I'm Oda with the Spinal Cord Injury Ontario, and in the theme of accessibility, I came out here to have a nice vacation to your Airbnb, and this yurt is accessible, really accessible, as you can see with the ramp. And I just wanted to ask you, why did you decide to make it accessible?
I actually think from the start, when we were looking for something that was unique and different for a farm agritourism stay, our daughter inspired us by that, having traveled in Holland. And then you have to think about, okay, how are you going to keep it dry and above ground? So you obviously want to put it on some form of a platform. And it was almost like, I was asking my husband just sort of to reflect on why we did it, and he said, well, of course we did it. It was just a no-brainer. I think when you've had kids, we have 4, and you push a stroller, you recognize, especially in Toronto, how many times you couldn't access something because of the stroller, so you couldn't go on certain TTC stops. And I get it, they're old, etc. It's hard to retrofit. But if here we're starting from scratch, it made perfect sense to ramp it. The one thing though, my husband and I both agree, we're not perfect. We're trying. We really need guests like yourself, Oda, to actually show us that where we think, oh, it's so easy, we actually sort of did a quick little makeshift ramp into the door to ease your accessibility. But it's so important. And I'm also the generation of Rick Hansen and the Man in Motion Tour. And I also worked for the Terry Fox Foundation, and Terry Fox was actually a friend of Rick Hansen's and inspired by him. So I think if I'm that generation and I'm now 55, let's just keep hoping more people are always thinking accessibility, barrier free.